Hey guys, before we start today's Midweek Madness episode, I just want to have a little quick conversation, but I'm going to need you to really listen, so give me a sec. Hey there. Welcome to my ASMR conversation with you. And really what I have to ask is something quite simple. And I think by the time we're done with this conversation, you and I will both be in agreement about what needs to be done. Now, I was taking a look at the analytics for the channel, and the numbers have been trending up since we started releasing a new song every Friday of 2021. Don't forget. However, there's a large percentage of you that watch this channel that aren't subscribed yet. And I think we can remedy that. So, if you promise to click that subscribe button, I'll promise to continue releasing new music every Friday of 2021. Don't forget. If you don't click that button, there's nothing I can do about it. So, I think this relationship's pretty equal footing here. Without further ado, here's this week's Midweek Madness. New song every Friday of 2021. Don't forget. Last time on Midweek Madness.
2 hours later.
I had reached out to a few people to ask, hey, what do I do? What's the process? Am I screwed? One of them was a family friend. She worked at an ear, nose, and throat office, and she directed me to make an appointment. So I did. I went into the appointment. I was nervous. I was anxious. I put a lot of stock in my identity as a human being, in my ability to sing. It's been very important to me from a young age, and I've done it for, 2 decades, a little bit over that. And the thought of losing my voice it gave me a lot of anxiety. So the doctor came in. He said that he wanted to scope me. Now, if you've ever had any sort of ear, nose, and throat work, or people like ear, nose, and ENT doctors checking you out, checking out your ear, nose, and throat, not like, hey, baby. If you've ever had ear, nose, and throat doctors inspecting your ear, nose, or throat, sometimes they have to take a camera and see what everything looks like. So they can take pictures or video or whatever. Now, the question you might be asking yourself is, how do they fit a camera into your mouth? And the answer is, they don't. They fit it through your nose. I want you to picture for me, take a small metal flexible camera, and they're going to shove it up your nose and then pop it out the back of your throat.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's every bit as enjoyable as you think it is, which means it's not. Now, the problem is I have a deviated septum, which means, to put it simply, my nose is crooked. Regardless of which side of my nose he was going to put the camera in, it was going to be an issue anyway, but whatever. So he shoves it up my nose, doesn't feel good. I mean, imagine having to sneeze, but you can't sneeze because there's literally a metal camera shoved in your face.
No!
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Now, that's bad enough. But the other problem is when that camera goes up your nose and is hanging out the back of your throat, it has to hang down there. So they have to put the camera pretty far in there. Imagine for me, if you can, you have to sneeze and vomit, and you're gagging the whole time because there's literally a camera scraping the back of your throat. Dude, just the thought of that, it's not great. Okay, so the camera's hanging down there, and the guy was just taking a peek, and at the end of when he was done scoping me, pulls the camera out and he says, "Hey man, there might be something going on with your voice. I do see I think I remember him saying like slight inflammation or something like that. But the main thing that I took away from that doctor's session, words are hard. Doctor's session was that I had more issues than just physical vocal flap issues. Now, what the doctor said was I have a condition called GERD, and it's pretty common. It just basically means heartburn all the time. I'm going to fact check that. Don't take my word for it. GERD, I'll pop the definition right there. So GERD basically means that I have silent heartburn. So anytime I eat something, I will get heartburn, but I won't be able to feel it because it catches in my throat, right? So like what I had never noticed before is that frequently I have like a dry cough, and like I would wake up in the morning and taste acid, and I didn't know that's what it was at the time because it's always been that way for me. So I didn't know that it was something that shouldn't be there, if that makes sense. I remember telling my doctor flat out, there's no way I have GERD. Like that just doesn't make sense. It has to be like a physical vocal fold issue. And so he directed me to a second doctor who was a vocal specialist on the other side of town. So I made an appointment with her, and I went and checked her out. She took a look like the first guy did, which means she had to scope me again. So she shoved another metal camera into my face. Now, when she took a look, she had me do some different vocal exercises, and she was listening, and then she scoped me and had me do them again. And she said that there was definitely something going on, but she wasn't able to quite figure it out. So she actually was going to direct me to a third doctor. Excuse me, burp. Gosh, dude, the hiccups. Now, the third doctor was one of a team of the vocal specialists at U of M Hospital, okay? Big deal. Like, I mean that. I literally mean that. It's a big deal. So I took a day off work and I drove my butt over to the other side of the state 3 hours away. So I get brought into this back room and I want to say like 4 or 5 people came in at the same time. Now, there was the head vocal doctor. There was a second vocal doctor who was a surgeon, I want to say. There was a scribe who like just takes notes of everything that's going on. And I think there was 1, maybe 2 medical students. And so 5 medical staff are now in the room, and they're going to take a look at my throat or something, I guess. That means I get to get scoped again. Now, the fun one with this one was we begin the scoping process, and the doctor says, well, we have a smaller one. Would you prefer that? And I'm like, yes, I would like a smaller camera instead of the big one that you're shoving in my face. I would like the smaller one. So she gets out the small one. It's for kids. She takes the camera, scopes me again. Now, here's what's interesting. She took a spray. She took a spray, not analgesic, right? That's the, anesthesia. Anesthetic. She took an anesthetic spray. She sprayed the back of my throat. She scoped me, and then she had me sing the national anthem. If you've ever sang the national anthem, it's a tough song. And I gotta hand it to anybody that has had to do that live and just nails it, because there's just something about that song when people sing it right. It just, as a vocalist, I'm like, yes, good job. It's notorious because it starts low and it ends really high. Okay, so it's a hard song to sing. I was all nervous about singing, and she's like, just sing normally, whatever. And so with the anesthetic spray in my throat, I sang it, and it was no problem. I mean, I remember in the office, I started to tear up because I hadn't really sang since I had gotten injured, and this was probably like 2 months of time between the injury and going to see the doctor, maybe longer. It might have been 3 or 4. But it was a big deal. And so I sang the national anthem. It felt amazing. She kind of stopped me and she's like, "Okay, it seems like your voice is okay, but we need to talk about technique." Now, I've always been a stickler for technique. At least I thought I was, until the literal medical doctor at U of M told me that I needed to be more of a stickler. Cool. So she gave me some tips, and she pointed out that I have a habit of belting it out. And if you've ever been around singers or vocalists or anything, the term belting it out means you're giving like 100% power and volume, which can sound really good, but it's not tenable to like long-term vocal health. Now for me, I wasn't touring regularly. I wasn't playing shows all the time. So I don't know. I didn't, whatever. But she pointed out that, again, the goal should be to be able to healthily sing for longer periods of time, to summarize what she said. And so she gave me some tips on that. She said that I was in denial about GERD. I didn't think that was legitimate. She took a look and said, no, that's probably valid. That's playing a huge part. Because what's happening is as the stomach acid is coming out of your stomach, it's lapping onto the vocal folds, and acid on anything isn't great. Your stomach is made up of cells that can handle that amount of acid and that concentration of acid. But something that's cartilaginous and we'll say more, dude, words are hard today. What is not futile, not volatile. Vulnerable is a better word. Anyways, something that's, we'll say, fragile. Fragile is the word I'm looking for, fragile. Something that's fragile, like your vocal folds, they're not made to have acid splashed on them all the time. So it weakens them over time. Add that with the amount of power that I was putting behind my voice, it's not a great equation. So what the doctor said was, I don't think you're screwed. I think you are injured, and you need to be careful going forward about how you fix this. The other thing that she noticed in the scope is that the right vocal fold seemed to have a slight paralysis. That was the tickle that I felt in the back of my throat. It was the right vocal fold was slightly paralyzed. Now, I'm going to put my coffee down and I'm going to show you like a gross video. And this is literally like my throat when I was injured. And it's gross looking. So content warning, this is gross. This is literally the back of my throat. And it's gross. Okay, I warned you. Okay, here it is. Yay, aren't we so happy that we all got to experience that together? This is the type of community that we're trying to build here. Now I'm going to put my coffee down real quick so I can show you something. Now, again, if you imagine like if this is a vocal fold and this vocal fold, they're kind of like pushed together, and then as air comes through it, they vibrate, right? And that's how you get sound, whether it's speaking or singing. And with the right vocal fold slightly paralyzed, this guy's not moving as much. And so what happened was my neck muscles were they were over-engaging to try and force that flap closed so that I could, get the waves. That was causing me vocal strain. Now, the other part of this that makes a perfect storm is where I worked at the time. I was a manager in a factory, and we were around huge equipment. And I don't have an exact number for how loud it was in there, but because there were a lot of vents and vacuums and, all that, like a lot of machinery, it got pretty loud in there. Like, I mean, it got loud. It was loud. And so what that turned into was every day I would go into work, my voice wouldn't feel great, and I would have to yell over the machinery if I wanted to communicate something. I shared all this with the doctor. She said all of those things are factors, and you're going to have to figure out how to fix those. If you don't fix those, your voice probably won't heal, and you probably won't sing very well, if at all.
Oh, no!
But if you can manage some of those, your voice probably will recover as long as you are exercising it and taking care of it. So what that turned into was I ordered like a headset that I would wear with a little microphone, and there was like a little battery pack that would go on my belt buckle or on my belt loop. And it was like a little stereo thing, and I could turn it up, and then I could speak normally, and that would project out to my team, which was awesome. I mean, it blew my mind that no one had done that before, because it made it so much easier. Like, I would just click it on, and I'd say, "Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Here we are." Oh, and they'd be able to hear me, and if it got louder, I could just turn it up, and it was no big deal. I got a ton of crap for having that headset system. But what was funny was, after a while, the training department and a couple other people thought that was a pretty smart thing to have. And so they actually ordered a bunch of them. I don't know if they used them, but I saw some other people wearing them like several months later, and I just like, vindication. Yes. That helped quite a bit. I started doing more vocal exercises, and I did what the doctor said, which was give it time to heal and rest. Now, at that time, I started posting on Facebook about it. I made a pretty long post basically saying like, hey, I'm injured. I don't know what's up. And this was the most frustrating thing for me ever, because it felt like right up until that point, Seraphim had an incredibly strong lineup of people that were dedicated to pursuing the business. Like, we were going to play shows, albums, whatever, and we were just going to start working on this album. I mean, it was like, dude, that was such a critical moment, and getting my injury then was very disheartening. Like, it was very sad. Thank you for checking out this week's episode of Midweek Madness. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. for a new one. Also, tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. for a new song, every Friday of 2021. Don't forget.